YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back after Thursday Night Football here in Week 11 between the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Pretty entertaining game. Maybe not as entertaining or thrilling as the last time these two teams met, but we'll give you my takeaways here for this game like we do for every Thursday night game. Those videos are on Friday. Every Monday, I recap the Sunday games. We also have weekly picks, score predictions, a lot more. Power rankings, you guys know the drill. If you're new, we got you covered. Please subscribe. Really appreciate the support. Follow our Twitter. Constant NFL talking during these live games. You pretty much get my takeaways live on Twitter. So go ahead and follow that. Instagram, podcast, Patreon, a lot going on. We're working with the new app as well that we'll have NFL debates on there. There'll be a link in the description. We'll have more on that in the near future here. But I mentioned that Patreon, we have bonus content on there. Junior score predictions, my NFL and college football bets of the week. Every week, playoff predictions, a lot more. Appreciate the support. A lot of you signed up. Link down below for that. Let's talk about this game. Cardinals, Seahawks. Seahawks had control pretty much this whole game. It got pretty interesting. I'd say the biggest part of the game was that safety. There was a hold by J.R. Sweezy in the end zone there. He initiated the hold just before, but the bad part of the hold where it was called was in the end zone. So I do agree with the call. He got pretty much torched off the line by L.J. Collier. Collier was playing the 3 technique position interior, which I love to see. Him out of TCU, I graded him as an interior guy. I only liked him at end in a 3-4 defense. Obviously, the Seahawks running more of a 4-3, Leo to be exact. And they were trying him as an edge rusher last year. So I love to see him getting better and playing on the inside. He forces that safety, even though it won't show up on the box score. That was a huge turning point of the game. Would the Cardinals have won the game if, they would have avoided that safety and converted there? You could assume that. We don't know for sure, obviously. The Cardinals did have a drive that was stopped in a 3-and-out, but Quandre Diggs had a unnecessary play on DeAndre Hopkins, and that resulted in a score too. So they did have that one going for them. It's a lot of sloppy play. I actually talked to, for both sides, mainly the Cardinals. Offensive line was extremely sloppy, missing blocks. They've been pretty solid this year, but they're missing blocks, false starts. And maybe a part of that is the dramatic win against the Bills. That was actually a proven thing. And if you guys remember, everyone remembers it. The Minneapolis Miracle, the Minnesota Miracle, where the Vikings beat the Saints. The next week they got torched by the Eagles, and there was some kind of study or actually a statistic where teams win in dramatic fashion. The week after they're completely off their game. It's a proven thing. So that reminded me of that. A little bit. So that could have been a short week as well. That could have been a reason for the Cardinals, actually. And that was actually a reason I picked Seattle, coming off that dramatic win. But it was a must-win situation for Seattle, and they went ahead and took care of business. My key takeaways here, I thought Kyler Murray played pretty well. I guess they're, left wanting more. Could have done more here. I guess they could have got the running backs involved more. Kyler could have done more, but he did pretty much everything he can. I do question the last couple plays, taking shots. Andy Isabella was open on 3rd down. And I saw some people wanted PI for that one. That definitely was not PI. It was a good play by the defensive backs, mainly DJ Reed. But yeah, Kyler could have 2 things. He didn't have to go there. He was open. He could have got the ball out a little earlier. That would have resulted in a big catch, maybe a touchdown. And the play after, it looks like when he got sacked in the game, it looked like he was setting up for something longer. Maybe just get the first down. You still had a timeout left. Maybe just get a first down there. That's only the real knocks I had on him. The receivers I thought played well. DeAndre Hopkins was dominating the sideline. I guess nothing downfield. So I guess I wish they would have taken a little more shots downfield down the sideline. It seemed like that was working. But at the same time, they were allowing quite a bit of cushion there. Soft coverage, so it was open, 5 to 15 yards down the sideline there on comebacks or back shoulders. Larry Fitzgerald played very well. He was open quite a bit, was fantastic after the catch. Isaiah Simmons, you see every time they play this guy more, he makes more and more of an impact, getting after the quarterback, getting sideline to sideline, making some big-time tackles. So it's just about playing him more. He's a fantastic player. Consider him an elite prospect because what he can do at pretty much any position there. except for the interior D-line. I wouldn't be afraid to line him up at, not in their 3-4 scheme, but as an edge rusher at times. You see his blitzing is he's a key factor in that category as well. So I thought he had a fantastic game. Play calling, kind of back and forth on this. It was for the most part good, but it feels like when the Cardinals can move the ball, when they want to move the ball, they move the ball. So why aren't you scoring more than 21 points? You should be scoring more than 21 points in this game. And then, you kind of come back to, is it Kingsbury, is it Kyler at the end of the game? Them taking shots, why aren't they just getting the first down? They have a timeout. It's tough to know who to blame on that. It's not that big of a deal. There's been worse play calling for the Cardinals this year. And I do like Kingsbury, love his system, love the tempo offense. It could be a little better because, against this defense, it felt like you can move the ball when you definitely wanted to. So why aren't you winning this game? Why aren't you scoring more than 21 points? I guess penalties will hurt that in a way. Patrick Peterson got beat up quite a bit. He started to look like an old man out there this year. That's not good. And then we talked about, the penalties and the sloppy offensive line play, which went into penalties, which went into missed blocks, holdings that were definitely were holdings. That was a huge negative. Maybe the biggest one of the day. For them, I kind of going back to the play calling. I thought they were the average wise. I don't know if they were that great running the ball, but I felt like when they had the opportunity, Drake and Edmonds, when they touched the ball, they were doing some pretty good things there. When there was running the ball, catch the ball in the backfield, downfield, Edmonds scored. He was wide open on a touchdown. Drake had a nice touchdown run. So I thought they could have got them the ball more. I know they were coming from behind, but it's not like they were absolutely getting torched. But I guess credit to the Seahawks managing the clock. That's something I don't have listed there. I thought they managed the clock. I guess that kind of goes into the old game plan part. They managed the clock fantastic. They drained it. They went back to pounding the football to open up the pass. Russell Wilson hit some big-time throws. He was very accurate, whether it was big-time throws or not. He didn't have an insane amount of yards, insane amount of passes like he usually does. It's because they were pounding the football and managing the clock. They were getting quick passes off in the flats, and that's kind of the old Seahawks football, and I kind of expected them to go back that route. And they did. Even without Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde looked pretty good. Bo Scarborough looked pretty solid at times. They just went back to pounding the football, and that's why those guys are on the team. Guys like Carlos Hyde, Bo Scarborough right now. So that was fantastic. Time of possession, managing the clock, draining the clock. The Cardinals, again, they moved the ball at will pretty much, but they held them to 21 points, and I guess you credit their offense for that because their defense stepped it up a little bit. Carlos Dunlap was fantastic. Big-time trade. We knew that was a great trade at the time. He did, even moments where it's not going to show up on the box score, he was fantastic. Getting outside, reading the play when Kyler Murray was going to get outside. There were pass plays that, obviously he wanted to run on, scramble on, and Carlos Dunlap was out there containing. That was fantastic. In there causing pressure, and then he gets the sack to end the game. He had a fantastic game. Love to see that. I thought the two interior guys, Jaron Reed, it's really not a surprise. He's been kind of the lone guy getting pressure consistently and making plays in the run game this year. That it was really no surprise to see him play well. But LJ Collier, that safety was the biggest moment in the game. Close game. Who knows what had happened there? LJ Collier forced it. Won't show up in the stats. Won't show up in the box score, like I said. So that was huge for him. I love that he was playing that 3 technique spot, which is just outside of the guard, almost in between the guard and the tackle, which is almost like a pass rushing defensive tackle, and that's where he belongs. And that he's not an edge rusher. That's where he belongs. But the good news is he can move around and play pretty much all positions on the D line. I talked about Russell Wilson. I thought he was good. He didn't do anything. He didn't really have too many crazy wow plays. That ball to Tyler Lockett for a touchdown, some balls downfield to DK Metcalf. He had some good plays like that, but it's been usually more throughout games, but then he'll have those turnovers that cost him. He was just very accurate and did what he needed to do here to win the game. He was fantastic running. That was great. Hyde had some big-time key runs there. And I talked about it. It felt like they kind of went to the old game plan. That's exactly what they needed to do here because they've been on the losing end, and the Cardinals already saw them this year, so they were kind of adjusting to kind of the new Seahawks, just airing the ball out like crazy. So that was key. That was fantastic. DK overall made more good plays than bad plays, but kind of in the middle here because he had a drop touchdown. It was a bullet by Russell Wilson, but he let the ball hit his face mask. That was obviously not good. That should have been 6 points, 7 points to make the extra point. And then he had a big gain in the second half, and then he came across on a drag route, and then it was about to be another big gain, but right after a big gain, he just makes a bad drop. So really just two negative plays, but they were pretty big plays. But he was torching Patrick Peterson. His footwork off the line was fantastic. His route running was fantastic. Made big plays. If he would have caught those balls, he would have had an insane game. Insane total game as a total package. Jamal Adams continues to disappoint. Expectations around him. I mean, he didn't have a terrible game, but not really a good game. He continues to disappoint. Because we have expectations on him to be the best safety in football, and he's really not there. It really doesn't even feel like a safety right now. Everyone's talking about he's getting pressure, he's getting sacks. Yeah, that's good. That's good, but what is he doing as a safety, in the back end? He hasn't been too good in coverage. He bails on his coverage. He kind of wants to be a freelancer. He's kind of deciding, and you see him kind of arguing with Pete Carroll a couple weeks ago, and then Pete Carroll kind of said something to him on the bench last week. You wonder what's going on. It feels like Jamal Adams just really wants to be a freelancer, do his own thing, and I'm wondering if those conversations have something to do with that. You're just bailing on coverage. I think he's trying to be too instinctive. I think he thinks he's more instinctive than he is right now. Maybe the scheme doesn't help him as well, but he's got to be better in coverage. Some tackling attempts in angles aren't too great, but getting after the quarterback, he's pretty solid. But I definitely we all need to see more from him because the expectations are super, super high. He has had some injuries this year, so maybe he's got to bounce back from that. But we're expecting more from him. So that's really the only negative I take away. The defense stepped up. Still obviously not in the greatest spot for the Seattle Seahawks, but this is a huge win. This was a must-win. If they lost this game, they have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way, but if they lost this game, they were in jeopardy of losing out and winning the division. I wasn't at all worried about going to the playoffs. But yeah, they won this game. That's a big one. The NFC West is a wild battle between these teams and the Rams. I do like the Rams as well. They got a big game against the Bucs on Monday night, but yeah, pretty wild game. The Cardinals had an opportunity there at the end. There was a lot of penalties in the game. Not that I disagree with. There's probably some. And people were asking for penalties at the end. I like what the refs said at the end. I didn't really have any problems at the end of that game there with some of the non-calls or calls. But yeah, Cardinals. I think we were all convinced they were going to overtime, and they kind of. They're kind of disappointed there, kind of going for deep shots, taking that sack. It was a very good rush by Carlos Dunlap. It's a tough one not to take for Kyler Murray. But yeah, Cardinals got the Patriots next. That actually should be an interesting game. These two teams can't wait to watch the rest of the battle of the NFC West the rest of the year, along with the Rams. And the Niners could be sneaky as well. You never know. Very well coached team, but too many injuries perhaps. But that's going to wrap up this one. Again, we're back every Friday with this video. On Mondays, we have the Sunday recap. We have weekly picks, score predictions, power rankings, plenty more. So smash that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. Be much, much appreciated. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.